What is good, you lovely folks of YouTube? It's been 43 days since I've uploaded my last video. So first of all, I am really sorry about that. मुझे काफ़ी सारे messages आए और मतलब लोग मिले तब उन्होंने कहा कि videos किधर है, क्या है, वो है, क्यों भाई. So basically I was traveling a lot and I was working a lot. So much so that I did not even have the time to go on rides or whatever. तो shoot करना तो दूर की बात है. इसलिए I'm so sorry for not uploading. But if you've clicked on this video, then I'm assuming you haven't lost hope in me. So thank you so much. First of all, we'll start this baby. The topic of conversation today is 5 things I love about my KTM RC390. But right now she's absolutely disgusting. So first we'll go get her washed. Now the bike is looking supremely clean and beautiful. The orange is really popping in the sunlight. There are a lot of things that I love about this bike, obviously. So it's very difficult for me to narrow it down to just 5 things, but I'll try my best. So my first point would be the character of the motorcycle, the very nature of the motorcycle. So this bike makes 43.5 horsepower. It is still to this date one of the most powerful bikes in its segment, and it is not just the fact that it makes that much power, it is also how it delivers it. So ये बाइक का ऐसा सीन है कि till about 6.5-7,000 RPM it pulls kind of, but then after 7,000 RPM it really wakes up. It is that dramatic nature of it that makes it amazing. The way that this bike delivers its power is very ruthless and it is sometimes scary. That is what makes it fun for an enthusiast like me. I don't like bikes that are tamed or that are linear in their delivery. I like bikes that are abrupt. So this after 7,000 RPM just starts pulling. And when you discuss the feel of a motorcycle, you also have to obviously talk about the sound. Even with the stock exhaust, with the DB clear and everything, it's still quite a loud bike. So when you ride it, you do hear quite a bit of the bike, and other people will too. Now obviously क्योंकि मैंने इधर एक कुर्ला पोविश exhaust डाला हुआ है, it sounds even wilder. It just pops, bangs and scares everyone that's on the road while I downshift. And speaking of the nature of the bike, of course the handling is just phenomenal. Once you know how to turn in a super sport motorcycle, once you know how to treat it correctly, once you understand this bike, it handles and performs like you wouldn't believe. Most riders, for 99.9% of riders, तुम्हारे skills खत्म हो जाएंगे, but ये bike की जो ability है वो खत्म नहीं होगी. So it's just a very lightweight and nimble and agile and sharp bike. So if it's performance that you are after, then get a 390. It will not disappoint you in this segment. ये सब चीज़ें ना ये बाइक को कैरेक्टर देती है. It feels like this bike has a life of its own. इसकी खुद की एक अपनी आत्मा है. I've ridden so many other bikes and they don't feel as exciting and as wild as this, even though they might have more power. So that's the first thing. I just love the very nature of this motorcycle. The fact that it's a bit of a scary and raw experience is what makes it amazing. So that's the first thing that I love about this bike. The second thing that I love about this motorcycle, it's quite an obvious one, but I'll still say it because I think it is an important point, and it is just the way that this looks. Can you believe that this design is almost 10 years old? The RC390 in India was launched in 2014. It is still one of the best looking fed motorcycles in India right now. It's just a looker. It's got sharp lines. This chassis looks like it's caging in a beast. That is the engine. You know, this bike had LED tail lights before LED tail lights were a thing in India. अभी unfortunately India में क्या हो गया कि orange is synonymous with छपरी, क्योंकि बहुत सारे छपरी लोगों ने KTM लिया है. But when you remove that stigma from your head, it looks like such a pretty bike. The orange, it really stands out. This is still a head turner, you know. Just even 10 years later, kids, women, other men, everybody turns around to look at what this is and admire it for a second. ऐसा मेरे साथ कितने बार हुआ यार. मैं किधर खड़ा हूँ, मेरी बाइक मेरे बाजू में खड़ी है और फिर कोई बच्चा आके बोलेगा कि मैं बैठूँ क्या, या फिर उनके पेरेंट्स आके रिक्वेस्ट करके एक बार बैठेगा तो चलेगा क्या. I've owned this bike for a year almost, and till this day I look at it and I'm like, damn, this is mine. I own this beautiful beast. Now coming to the third point, first let's start riding. And she's on with the Kurlapovich exhaust with a thumper 390cc between my legs. Woo! I know it's not 390, I know it's a 373cc. अभी नीचे geeks आ जाएंगे कीबोर्ड लेके. It's actually 373. you. The third thing that I absolutely love about this motorcycle are the components used. Now, the suspension is a WP branded suspension manufactured by Endurance. The suspension on this bike is really good quality. Most people are not skilled enough to outdo the stock suspension on this motorcycle. It's that good. You can really push the bike deep into a corner and still find that confidence. The high speed stability is also phenomenal because of its aero design and everything. Abhi maine mere rear suspension ko stiffest preload setting pe rakha hai. I just love the suspension. It gives me exactly what I desire from it. Now, speaking of the brakes, this bike has steel braided lines, not rubber lines like the Ninja 300 or the R3. You're completely sorted in that area. Plus, you have a huge 320mm disc, and you can get sintered or ceramic whatever options from KTM itself. KTM Brembo pads, I think they're like 3 grand or something, but they are absolutely phenomenal. And because of the huge disc size and the steel braided lines, and if you upgrade the pads a little bit here and there, these brakes are phenomenal. तुम्हारी ऐसे गर्दन बाहर निकल जाएगी, तुम्हें ऐसा लगेगा इतने अच्छे ब्रेक्स है इसमें. So जिस तरीके से ये पावर डिलीवर करती है, उसके साथ साथ इसको स्टॉपिंग पावर भी बहुत ही अच्छा दिया है. So I'm very happy with the brakes and the suspension that KTM has provided with this motorcycle, because in India, a lot of times, you know, companies will give excellence in one area, but where they really start shitting the bed is the suspension and the brakes. KTM has not compromised on it, because I'm sure that they realize how important it is. Like if you look at the RD350, which is an absolute legend, and I still haven't ridden that bike, I would love to, but that used to come with horrible brakes because they were cost cutting. We as a society and manufacturers as companies have become quite intelligent in realizing that brakes are important, and I like that KTM has given us quality suspension and quality brakes. We are at beautiful Bandra Bandstand. Mannat idhar hai, Shah Rukh Khan sir ka ghar. Now, coming to the fourth thing that I love about this motorcycle is the fact that parts are fairly cheap. Now, for example, the chain sprocket on a Ninja 300 is 15 grand, whereas the chain sprocket on this is around 3.5 grand. And this is one thing. To rebuild a Ninja 300, it's quite expensive. To rebuild one of these, it's quite cheap comparatively. So compared to its direct competition, which is the Ninja 300 and the R3, parts are quite cheap. Now, yes, it is more higher maintenance, it is more unreliable. So that is like a con of the motorcycle, and I'm thinking I'll make a video on 5 things I dislike about my KTM. But coming to the basic point, the parts are quite cheap and it's very easily serviceable. KTM showrooms har ek tier 1 tier 2 city mein hai India mein. Mechanics know how to work on this bike now because it's been in the market for so long. It just makes it very easy for a user to have a bike like this because of these after sales reasons. And plus it's very easy to find aftermarket parts or modification parts. इसके लिए तुम्हें वाइजर चाहिए, मिल जाएगा. अपग्रेडेड ब्रेक पैड चाहिए, मिल जाएगा. तुम्हें क्या चाहिए, इसके अंदर वो छपरी वाले गोल गोल लाइट चाहिए, वो भी मिल जाएगा. सब मिल जाएगा. इतने इसके मॉडिफिकेशन के ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल है ना इंडिया में, that it's just amazing and it's confusing honestly, which is a good thing. You know, you don't want a bike जिसका तुमने ले लिया फिर उसमें कुछ उसके पार्ट्स मार्केट में अवेलेबल ही नहीं है, फिर तो उसका क्या करोगे. बाइक को मॉडिफाई करना इज एब्सोल्युटली एसेंशियल. इट इज़ सो इम्पॉर्टेंट, इट इज़ सो नेसेसरी, बिकॉज दैट इज़ वॉट मेक्स योर बाइक एंड नॉट like every other bike. And you know, the amount of upgrades you can make with this bike, it's just endless. एक इटालियन सस्पेंशन ब्रांड है B2 करके, तो वो जो मोनोशॉक बनाते हैं RC 390 के लिए, वो 70,000 का मोनोशॉक है. आई एम श्योर दैट वो जो मोनोशॉक है उसकी जो क्वालिटी है वो भी 70,000 के वर्थ इट ही रहेगी. यू नो, बट 70,000 में तो तुम यूज KTM भी ले सकते हो. बट दैट्स जस्ट द पॉइंट. यू नो, द अमाउंट ऑफ मॉडिफिकेशंस यू कैन मेक विद दिस बाइक आर काइंड ऑफ एंडलेस. Overtakes are so easy on this bike, man. I love power. Power is a good thing to have in life. I want to come back to the first point, which is the performance, the thrill, the feel, which is just phenomenal, baby, and it never gets old. Woo, the brakes. Just everything about this is phenomenal. Woo! If performance is something that you're after in the 300-400cc segment, there's no better bike than this. Not yet. April अभी तक आई नहीं है. वो आने के बाद I'm sure it's going to be a tough fight for the 390. But nothing quite offers the thrill of this bike. Woo! The final point for this video And the fifth thing that I love about my KTM RC390 is that it's a helping hand. It's a hand that pulls you into the world of performance motorcycles. This bike can show you what a motorcycle can do. This bike can bring you into the world of motorcycling as a sport. जो इसका character है, it is one of a mini super bike. So this can teach you and tell you a lot about what it will be like if you own a sports bike. And by no means do I mean that this is a beginner bike. I don't think this should be your first motorcycle. I think that would be a massive mistake. It's still a great bike for someone who is decently skilled and wants to get more upskilled. What I mean when I say that this lends you a hand into the performance world is that this also is a very phenomenal bike to learn how to ride a super sport motorcycle. Like पैर कैसे रखते, lean कैसे करते, how to brake properly, how to downshift, how to upshift, what to do with the throttle. It teaches you so much. And the thing is, because it is not very expensive to fix. So for example, if you do end up doing something wrong and you end up, for example, burning up your clutch a bit early or wearing out your chain sprocket earlier than you should, या फिर तुम्हारे brake rotor जाते हैं, brake pad जाते हैं, तो तुम उसको easily replace कर पाओगे because they are not that expensive. Whereas if you try to do the same on a super bike, it's going to be stupidly, ridiculously expensive for most people. Which is one of the reasons why most people can't own a super bike, is because they are just that damn expensive to maintain. So even if you do end up making a mistake on this bike and crashing or something, the fairings are about 3,000-5,000 or something. They're very cheap. So it's a good beginner bike to have, and plus it offers you quite a decent bit of performance for the money. So I think that's it for this video. 5 things I love about my 2018 KTM RC390. What a phenomenal motorcycle. What a beautiful motorcycle. Would I buy it again? Absolutely. I would buy it 100 times over. I love this bike too much. It's scary, it's fun, it's fast. If you guys want another video in which I talk about 5 things I dislike about my 390, do comment down below. I will definitely make that. Thanks a lot for watching this one till here. I'm sorry मैंने इतना लंबा break ले लिया, but I was genuinely very busy with work and traveling. But I'll try my best to be consistent on YouTube. Thanks a lot, people. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Of course, not doing the speed limit. Why the fuck would I do the speed limit on a super bike?
Everything I expect from a performance machine. The 6th point, which is a bonus point, and it's a kind of a hilarious, stupid point, it is that chicks love this bike. Chicks absolutely admire this bike. This is a great first date bike. You know, लड़की इधर बैठी रहेगी, उसका पूरा वजन ऐसे रहेगा, तुम ब्रेक मारोगे, and they just like how fast it is, how loud it is, how much I can corner the bike. You know, तुम एक बार cornering करके दिखा तो लड़की तुम पे फिदा. तो chicks just love this bike. Am I right or am I wrong? Right. Don't chicks just dig this bike? They do. See? अभी क्या है, मेरा थोड़ा सा सिंगल फेस चल रहा है ना, तो ऐसे फर्स्ट डेट्स होते रहते इधर उधर. अभी लोग कमेंट करेंगे छपरी ठरकी जो भी, चलो यार मजाक को मजाक की तरह समझो, ठीक है, चलो बाय.